336 million people not enough to suffice our problems?
Well, you can always have more, no?
Harris, who's horrible. How can anyone vote for a disaster?
This country is not the greatest country. This greatest
That's what Biden did.
country.
Let's open those doors. Let's let them all in. Let's give them 30 grand.
Yeah, it's not 30 grand. The United States is...
Please, I beg you to convince me.
Are you disappointed that Trump hasn't fixed the border or done anything about it at all?
We're having many days in a row with less than 300 apprehensions along the entire 2,000-mile U.S.-Mexico border.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. Today we have got one of our favorites, Destiny, who is debating somebody who is not a political commentator, just a normal person, asking some pretty common sense questions. And obviously, because Destiny is a political commentator, he's able to bring up various different things that this guy doesn't understand and hence doesn't have an answer for. So we're going to go through some of the claims made. And with that, let's get into the video.
The U.S. needs more foreign workers. Move. I want you to write down the best reason you have for standing on that mat. What is the reason he has written on the board?
I believe he has statistics as to why we need more people from out of the country and that we don't have enough people here to suffice the needs of the United States.
In one sentence, what is it?
Statistics showing an argument versus what I'm saying, period.
Is that correct? Statistics showing an argument?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. You
Low
got
unemployment, yeah.
You guessed it. Okay. Now, why is he standing on the absolutely disagree?
I'm going to guess it has something to do with a cultural aspect of Americans and not bringing in too much foreign culture.
Is that correct? Don't show him yes or no.
No, way off.
Okay. Guess again.
Then domestic labor needs more opportunity to work here. We should be manufacturing things with American workers.
Is that correct?
Well, we have enough people here.
We have enough people here. Okay, I'll grab this. Explain to him your reason.
Well, are we lacking people in the United States, that we don't have enough people to just suffice our needs and solve our own issues?
Yeah,
Right, we do.
we're lacking.
No, what are we lacking?
More people. Labor is one of your most important economic inputs. Why not have more workers?
But we have enough workers. We have
Enough for
people.
what?
We have a population of how many people? You would know this.
Well, like 336 million people or something?
Okay, so is 336 million people not enough to suffice our problems?
Well, you can always have more, no?
Why would you have more if you have enough?
How much money do you have in your bank account? Would you want more?
What I have in my bank account has nothing to do with the reality that we have enough people in the United States to suffice our needs.
How do you define enough?
Look around.
Okay, I looked around, there's not enough.
Okay, how do you determine there's not enough?
Unemployment is below 5%.
Okay, so why is unemployment below 5%?
Because you don't have enough people in our workforce to employ.
No, those are statistics that we don't know truly what. And we obviously have enough people.
How do we
Now,
obviously have enough if we can't trust the statistics?
Well, listen, statistics have a very narrow view of something that's far more deeper than that. If we have enough people that are, if we remove the illegals, first of all, if we get rid of people that are here against the law, which our country has created laws for reasons, we will finally know the actual answer to this, because then we have to fill those jobs, won't we?
Yeah, and then our unemployment would be even worse. It would go even lower.
Well, you don't have a crystal ball. We'll have to find out now.
Well, I
that
imagine
Trump is
if you
doing the right thing.
remove people and you fill more people into jobs, then the unemployment would go even lower, right? We would get to like 1% or less or something, right?
Well, exactly what would happen once we get rid of the illegals.
So how in your mind do you decide if there are enough people here or not?
Well, we'll find out once we do the right thing. First of all, go against anything that's illegal, right? We have laws in place for a reason.
That would mean removing Trump from office, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
How is Trump illegal in the office?
I'm just
Okay,
curious,
we'll
how do we
keep it to
decide?
this.
How do we decide? The problem I have with this is that we have a lot of numbers that tell us information about the health of the economy. It seems like having more workers is generally good as long as unemployment isn't too high or wages aren't being pushed too low. And it seems like every sector is really hungry for extra labor. You've got tech asking for H-1B workers. You've got agriculture that are worried that illegals are going to be kicked out of the country. They won't have a workforce. There are so many sectors that are hungry for workers.
Right.
Why would we
Isn't
not
it
allow
a
more?
mystery that we've had statistics for how long in this country, yet nothing's gone right?
I think a lot of things have gone right. I think we're in a wonderful country right now. I think we got how many immigrated people here?
We have
We've
Trump
got...
in the office. That's great, right? Of
No,
course.
we're not perfect, but...
Well, we're solving a problem. Let's keep it simple.
Okay.
We have illegals in the country. Let's get rid of the illegals and then see what actually transpires.
Wouldn't the easiest way to get rid of every illegal in this country be to create a path to citizenship for the people here?
But
or at
there
least
are paths to citizenship.
realistic ones that don't have a 25-year wait list.
25-year wait list. I don't know anyone that's waited 25 years to get legally here in the United States.
Anybody from Mexico that doesn't win an immigration lottery or doesn't have a family member here it's like a 20-year plus wait list.
No, listen. Whatever it takes to become legal, there are laws in place for a reason. If you want to change the laws, you're welcome to do so.
Okay, I'll meet you halfway then. I would agree that we should substantially reduce the amount of illegals here if we made it substantially easier and cut dramatically the wait time to legally immigrate into this country.
Well, Trump's all about eliminating bureaucracy and wait times.
Sure. Would
Absolutely.
you agree with that then? Would dramatically increasing the amount of legal immigration?
I'm not educated enough to know what the solution would be.
Well, I didn't ask. I'm just curious, just on a vibes basis. Would
and
you,
then we'll
yeah.
end this. All right, hold on. Then we'll end.
Yeah, so let's say right now we could snap our fingers and it would work in a way that wouldn't be catastrophic. Would you be okay with dramatically increasing the amount of legal immigration coming to this country, assuming they were coming for jobs, they weren't coming for welfare, they weren't criminals or rapists or any of that stuff? Would you be in favor of that?
No.
So this is just your typical graph go up mentality, which is just so frustrating to see. More immigration allegedly means that there is higher GDP. Graph go up, therefore immigration good. All those doctors, lawyers, and software engineers coming across the border. Now, obviously, this doesn't take into account the broader implications of bringing in millions of immigrants into a country to solve for this one alleged issue, which is that there is a talent shortage in fields such as tech. First of all, Americans can do this if there is a proper education structure put in place and incentivization done through the education system. Indians actually aren't the only people in the entire world that know their way around a bit of software.
Thank you for calling support. This is Adam Smith. How may I help you today?
Secondly, just on the topic of H-1B visas, if you bring in all of these Indians, they are more than happy to live in a one-bedroom place with 7 of their friends in San Francisco, and they're happy to do the job for pennies, which actually drives down wages. Thirdly, if you look at the immigration under the Biden regime, how many of these people that flooded across the border do you think were high-skilled workers that would be able to go to Silicon Valley and fill a tech role? I'm going to guess not many. But in terms of wages being driven down by foreigners who are happy to come in and work for absolutely nothing, you see this a lot in the agricultural industry and also construction and service industries, etc. This is bad for those Americans who would be happy to do this job, but also probably want to get paid enough to actually maybe support a family. You've also got the strain that it puts on public services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure, and then you've got the national security concerns. Also, when you've got millions of people coming in from various different cultures in a short time span, then they are not going to assimilate into the culture. They're going to form cultural enclaves. And this just inevitably changes the value system of the country that you live in and causes division. Not only that, but it also changes the electoral landscape with the Democrats over the past 5 years bringing in all of these people and then shipping them straight into swing states. And the last point that I'll give, and definitely not the least, is the change of demographic. Americans are having less and less babies, and the cultures that are being imported into America do have babies, meaning that over time, the dominant culture, the American culture, will be replaced by these other cultures. And that obviously, mathematically, is an inevitability that it will change the demographic makeup of the country. And all you have to do to see this taking place right now is look at Britain. In Britain, in the year 2023 and 2024, the most common name for a newborn baby was Muhammad. What does that tell you? Anyways, the Liberals will do absolutely anything to try and avoid the question of declining birth rates, because if you have to incentivize children, then the implications of what that means is something that they could just never, ever get down with. So guys, let's move on. But before we get there, don't forget to smash that like button right in the face, and also subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content.
Destiny, I'm very open-minded. I want you to convince me of it otherwise. But why were they illegal immigrants paid so much money to come into this country?
I think that there are dollar amounts you can offer people so that they have ability to subsist in the United States while they're here. The biggest issue that we have, unfortunately, this conversation is already lost for all conservatives. You can't convince them of this otherwise, but we don't have like an illegal immigration problem such that they just come here illegally. The issue that we have is that the laws on the books are way too generous, and even I'll admit this, for people claiming asylum. And the issue is somebody can come into this country and they don't have to like sneak past the border guard and do some crazy shit. They can just turn themselves in and go, oh, I'm an asylum seeker. And once they've made that claim, because of our due process laws on the books, you have to process them in a court. And people, especially after COVID, when a ton of people started making these claims and then the system got backed up, you end up with catch and release, where somebody says, okay, I'm an asylum seeker, and you say, well, I can't really process you right now. Here's a slip, like, come back in your court date. And now you get all these people, millions of them, that are making these claims. Well, if they are going to be in this country, I mean, you have to give them some sort of like subsistence pay. Otherwise, they're going to commit crime. They're just going to start stealing stuff. Like, it's not ideal, I admit, but like, what else are you going to do?
Well, isn't it a convenience, or isn't it a fact that this happened during the Biden administration? 30 grand just to come into this, and then they came up with the undocumented immigrants, and they were trashing their IDs at the border.
If
Didn't
people
that
are
happen
trashing
during
their
Biden?
ID, if they're...
Isn't it obvious that this was one of the many strategies used? Unfortunately, they had Harris, who was horrible, horrible. Anyone can watch this person. A disaster. This
you can't really
woman
say that
was
if it's
a
an illegal- if
disaster
it's an
to
ill-
this country. How can anyone vote for a disaster? Plus, you have Biden, this issue right here. How much money were they giving these illegal immigrants and asking them to ditch their IDs? It's obvious. Tell me how that isn't obvious and how that isn't a strong argument to convince you to get on this side.
Because I don't think that somebody is going to come here on the hope that they get a little bit of money from the United States government to subsist here and do nothing. I think people are generally coming here to work.
Not
That's
a
why
little
when
bit
we
of money.
see
Absolutely.
that's
Everyone
why,
wants to leave their country to come to the greatest country on the planet.
I'm so
Now,
sorry.
why
I
not
love
come
this
here
country.
quicker?
This country is
Let's
not the
open
greatest country.
borders.
This greatest
That's what Biden did.
country.
Let's open those doors. Let's let
United
them all
States-
in.
the United
Let's get
States-
rid of their ID.
the United
Let's give them 30 grand.
Yeah, it's not 30 grand.
Obvious.
The United
Convince
States is,
me, please. I
the
beg you to
Uni- you're not-
convince me.
You're not here to be
otherwise.
convinced. But the United
Using
States,
a simple tactic,
the
very
United
simple
States
words.
is not the greatest country in the world for welfare. The United States is the greatest country in the world for opportunity, because you can be the best version of yourself here,
Who's
not because we
arguing
give a
welfare?
ton of welfare.
Opportunity.
Opportunity to work.
Exactly. Why not come in with 30 grand than nothing?
Why not? What?
Why not come in with 30 grand in your pocket than nothing? That was obvious by
I don't think
opening
nobody
doors.
is getting.
Let's
They're
open
not
the
getting a
floodgates.
$30,000 check
Let's
to come
open
into
the
the United
floodgates.
States. Then why didn't Trump allow them to close them when they had the border bill? That Lankford, a Republican in the Senate, he proposed a border bill. We had a border bill to close the border. Why did Trump shoot that down?
You know, that's a great fact. I couldn't argue something that might be a fact. I don't know what is the fact, but the fact that Trump ran on building the wall and closing the borders, what you say makes zero sense to me.
Okay, you should
Explain
look
this
into
to me.
that. Well, it's,
Why would that make sense?
Well, because the real reason, and again, I'm just screaming into the abyss here, but the real reason is illegal immigration is not anywhere near the problem that Trump and everybody else makes it out to be, which is why he had no problem killing that border bill, and which is why he's been in office now for a month and has done absolutely nothing at the border. Instead, all we've done is we've antagonized our neighbors, we've threatened insane tariffs, and then we've made enemies of ourselves to the rest of the world, I guess by supporting the total expulsion of every Gazan from the Gaza Strip and by supporting Russia. We haven't done any. What happened to the border? I thought that the border was the most important thing. Why have we gone a whole month without any focus on it?
Well, obviously, you're not talking to the abyss because Trump won. And everything that you can do to convince me otherwise is extremely valuable.
Are you
So when-
disappointed that Trump hasn't fixed the border in his first month in office or done anything about it at all?
No one can fix the border in a month.
He hasn't touched it.
No, he hasn't
I
touched
thought it was the most important
How
thing.
many executive orders has he put into place?
How many of them deal with the border?
Are we going to get there? Are you saying that Trump is not going to deal with the border, which he hasn't
What,
already
did he run
in
out
4
of
years
ink in his pen? I don't
administration?
understand.
What
Was it
is there
more
not to
important to get
understand?
rid of trans
Great
women
things
in
take time. They
high
don't
school
happen
sports?
overnight. They
No,
don't
but why
happen
he's not doing
overnight.
anything right now? Are you telling me getting rid of birthright citizenship was more important, or getting rid of trans people in grade school sports was more important, or that writing any of the other 50 different executive orders on random issues was more important than closing the border? I thought this was the most important issue.
The most important issues? We have tons of issues.
What's more important than the border?
The greatest issues to handle right away are the low-lying fruit, and that's what he's doing.
Which
he's
is-
only been there for a month.
Yeah, and he hasn't. What issues has he handled that were more important than the border so far?
Well, we could sit in here and argue about all the issues that he has done, which that's why we're here.
Give me one.
But the fact is
Just
that
one.
immigration is absolutely on his target,
Okay.
and it's going to be solved.
But threatening 25% tariffs was more important. Tariffing steel, that was more important. Going
bringing
to
more
talk
money into the country so we can handle
bringing money how into
immigration
the country?
is absolutely
Where's the money
important.
coming from? The Republicans just asked for a $4 trillion increase on the deficit. I thought we were done deficit spending.
We could sit here and argue on these small topics, but
And we're out of time.
So Destiny's claim here is that Trump has allegedly done absolutely nothing about the border, and this is just unbelievably dishonest. Now, this was at least a month ago, this filming, but as soon as Trump got in, he started making moves when it came to the border. And now Trump's border crossings are down more than 95% if you look at March 2024 compared to March 2025, for example. This Texas sheriff says that the border is a ghost town.
It's about a year ago when hundreds of migrants rushed the fence, the barbed wire fence in El Paso. They assaulted Border Patrol agents. That was almost a year ago. Now I am told that same area is like a ghost town. Border crossings have plummeted under Trump. We got that. Sheriff, you're in Texas. Describe the scene. What's it like now? Is it really a ghost town on the border?
You know, Stu, I'd like to say, you know, what a difference a year makes, but the truth is, what a difference President Trump has made. And again, yes, we've already taken action on the border through our federal government to get Border Patrol agents back on the line, to have DOD assistance on the border. But really, what has sent the message is President Trump's voice. It is like a ghost town. Look, even in my county, it's been well over a week since we've had any activity. We've seen the reporting come out of U.S. Border Patrol where, we're having many days in a row with less than 300 apprehensions along the entire 2,000-mile U.S.-Mexico border. It's gone from one extreme to the other, meaning 15,000 apprehensions a day to well under 500 and 400.
This chart from New York Post shows average daily illegal border crossings per year from 2021 to 2025. So Destiny is just lying. And also this guy was correct that there are other issues as well. The border is one thing, and he's done actually extremely well with the border, and even the liberals have to admit that. But also in terms of declaring that there are only two genders and having blokes out of women's sport, yeah, he's also addressing that. So that's an argument for Trump. And then Destiny also mentioned the border bill. And guys, this is just old news. We all know that the reason why Republicans didn't go for the border bill was because it also included billions for Ukraine. And also, it was very weak on border enforcement despite it being called the border bill. So just dishonesty at its finest, but you would expect nothing more, that's for sure. Anyways, guys, don't forget to smash that like button on the way out or subscribe to the channel. Maybe you can even do both. And if you guys would like to watch another video, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.